Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention? I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story, and I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
I am that dude, Bodkins.
Yeah, DP lost like, beef. Yeah.
Right, where he's wondering he's like, I
Patty to patty.
He won style, like no weight classes.
Yeah, basically, like I said, there's been a couple guys that are like,
It's ridiculous. No way. There's nobody else out there. He's your guy.
That's just not my mentality, bro. Like,
yeah. Leave the ladder down. That's my always like, hey, somebody helped you out. Why not help somebody else out? Return.
Give a big round of applause for the one and only Bodkins Show.
Or bringing Craig Counsell down the interstate in a move unexpected. I had people.
I'm going to repeat that again, folks. I didn't stutter. Welcome to the Bodkins Show.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another great episode of the Bodkins Show. I am your host, Bodkins, of course, baby. If you missed it this morning, my guy Tanner D stepped in for Johnny Cruz, and we put out our weekly sports dump show. We also dumped a little bit of other things out, but we talk a little bit of this and that this morning. Please tune in for that. But we're going to continue I guess, like I said last week, season 3 of these one-on-one sit-down conversations as we try to do, off of football. And you try to talk to just, people all around the world, different people, whether it's, let them highlight what they do, what got them into doing. So, this is episode 2 of season 3, you could say. And this person here that's going to be joining me tonight, all the way from clear across the pond. That's right, clear across the pond, staying up late, able to hop on. You can find her on TikTok. She covers all things NFL, diehard Atlanta Falcons fan. Give it up for the first time ever making her appearance right here on the Bodkins Show, the lovely Ballers Meg.
Hi.
Meg, thank you for joining us this evening, and I know it's kind of a late night for you over there, so I appreciate you staying up and joining us.
No, not at all. My pleasure.
Let's start. You're clear across the pond, and football is a little bit different thing over there than it is here. How did you become an American football fan?
So I was working in a little country bar in my hometown, and one of my best friends in the world is a massive NFL fan. And one night we were working a late shift together, and he was like, "Do you know what? Football's on." And I was like, "What, this time of night?" And he was like, "No, American football's on." And so we started watching a game, and within a few minutes I was hooked. I didn't know what on earth was happening, but I was absolutely hooked, and I needed to know more. I'm one of these people that, like, when I'm interested in something, I'm a sponge for that knowledge. I have to find out absolutely everything. So cue the next few weeks of me absolutely pestering the life out of him constantly. What does this mean? Why have they done this? Who is that? What's going on? And it went from there, basically.
And now you're staying up late on the weekends and Monday nights, Thursday nights, and watching it all.
Yeah, every single game that I can get my hands on, I will stay up. Sometimes it's a 3 a.m. finish for me, and then I'm at work by leaving for work at 7:30. So it's one of those where Monday nights and Thursday nights for me are just have a nap before it starts, and then hopefully manage to stay up for the full thing.
Is that the plan? What's the plan? Is it stay up all day and watch the game and then sleep, or is it taking sleep, wake up, nap before the event, and then maybe go back, or staying up all night after that?
Yeah, so usually I'll go to work, my day job. I get home about 4:00. I'll have something to eat, I'll go to sleep, and then I'll wake up maybe 10-11 p.m. and that's me right through till the end of the game. And then depends how tired I am, I might have a little snooze before getting up for the day job again.
Okay. And how did you become how'd you become an Atlanta Falcons fan? Because that's oddly that's not even like a big I mean they're a big market, but they're not like the Cowboys, the the even like the Giants or the Jets, somebody like on the East Coast, like that type of team. Like what's with the Atlanta Falcons?
So the same person who made me start watching NFL, again, we were working a shift and I said, I just don't know which team to pick. How do you pick your team? And we had a little bet on anyway about how the shift was going to go, if it was going to be quiet, if it was going to be busy. And I was like, when you do security work, it's kind of like a curse if you say it's going to be a quiet shift.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's going to be a quiet shift for us. We'll be fine. 5 minutes later, we were like kicking people out, and he was like, well, you lost the bet, so I get to pick your team. And he's a massive Atlanta Falcons fan, so here we are. And now I'm as much of a fan as he is.
How many years now? Like you've entrenched yourself into fandom?
This is really so last season was my first full season.
Okay.
So it wasn't last season, it was the season before, maybe about the mid-October time, the season before last.
So before they got like Kirk Cousins, and then obviously this year you're entrenched into the Kirko 2 Chains, and then they go to Michael Penix. Your thoughts on just that quarterback situation? And the general manager kind of come out this week and said, Kurt's kind of with us for the time being and maybe for the long haul, but that contract says otherwise.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mess, isn't it, to be honest? So I was super annoyed when we had drafted Michael Penix to begin with. I was really annoyed about it initially. Obviously, on reflection, after a few days, I was able to kind of calm myself down and say, well, it was actually the right decision. But where we're at right now, obviously, no matter what we do, it's kind of a catch-22 because Kirk Cousins, even if we were to trade him or we're still paying his salary at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We're still paying for him.
That guaranteed money for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. But it's also a heck of a lot of money to be sat on a bench as a backup. It's a lot of pennies to be thrown his way when he's not really going to get a start. So I mean, it is what it is. There's not a lot we can do. I think that there is going to be interest, and I'm hoping that a team will come in and say, look, we'll take some of that burden of pay for him. But realistically, is he worth it? No.
I was surprised he got the big deal. He's getting up there in age and coming off the Achilles injury, and this wasn't. He kind of came back quicker too, right? Like this wasn't Aaron Rodgers where he got that Achilles was like 4 plays in. We're talking, later into the season. That was like week 8, week 9 for when he was with the Vikings. It is funny that you mentioned the Michael Penix pick because everybody, when they made that pick, was like, what the fuck are they doing? Because they just gave all this money to Kirk Cousins. And in hindsight, it did work out, right? Because now you have a Michael Penix, and we got a small sample side of him last year in 2 or 3 games. What was your thoughts on Michael Penix?
To be honest, although obviously, like I said, I was annoyed when we initially picked him, I can see the potential that boy has got. I think that he is. During preseason, we held him back, I think, a little bit because we didn't want anybody with eyes on him. We needed to protect that kind of status of how well he can play. And when you see him on the field, now don't get me wrong, he is very green, he's very young, he's very new to the style of NFL play, but there is such potential there. And I think give him a decent tight end, and Kyle Pitts, I'm in 2 minds whether we're going to have Kyle Pitts next season, to be honest. My heart says he needs to go because his heart is not in Atlanta. But give him a decent tight end. Let him go with Darnell Mooney. I mean, look at the pair up that those two seem to have. That chemistry was unbelievable in the games that he played. Raheem Morris has come out and spoken about how well he plays in practice, on the field. The decisions that he's making are the decisions of a QB that's got much more experience than he does. So I'm excited, to be fair. I say this really, really cautiously because I was the one who, as soon as we signed Kirk Cousins and they announced that he was jersey 18, 18's my lucky number, right? So the first thing I did was I ran out and bought myself a Kirk O'Chain's jersey with
Is
the
that
number
in the
18.
background? Is that the one in the background?
This is not, this is actually a Calvin Ridley, I think.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah, he likes to bet on himself.
yeah. Don't we know it? But yeah, so I went out and ran and bought myself a Kirk Cousins jersey within, days of him being signed, and was really excited and thought, look, fresh meat on the team. We can't do worse than we did the season before. Lots of excitement. If they're offering this much money, they must be seeing something coming that's going to be good for us. So I don't want to get too excited about Michael Penix, but I do have high hopes. I do genuinely believe that given the right weapons and given the right chance, we should have started him earlier last season. We would be going in much more confident this season, but we learn from it, don't we?
Yeah, the Atlanta's in a weird spot, and you mentioned like Kyle Pitts. Like, do you play fantasy football? Are you?
I do.
Have you gotten
I
it?
do.
Yeah. So like, everybody's been waiting for since he got drafted, like this Michael Pitts, like in fantasy world, for him to like break out and be tight end one. And maybe Michael Pitts, we're like, he just doesn't have the quarterback. This is the year. This is the year. Or, before it was like, well, now he's got Arthur Smith, and then Arthur, like it just never. Maybe Michael Pitts is who he is, it seems like, and we're never gonna get that like tight end one season, and he was maybe drafted just off of his underwear as far as like the in the combine and what has athleticism can do, and instead of being an actual football player.
And I think that's the thing with Kyle Pitts. There are moments where you see that tight end one quality. You see it, and it's frustrating as a fan to consistently watch and see those little glimpses, and you think, oh, here we go. Oh, never mind. It's so frustrating, because that potential is there. And like you say, is it the quarterback? Is it the chemistry? Is it the coach? What's going on? And unfortunately,
you've changed it all. You've changed it all, and he's had
we've
multiple.
tried everything. He's the key factor that hasn't changed, and I think now it's time to yeet his ass out, to be honest.
I mean, they have some young pieces. We know Penix, and whether Pitts is part of that. They have Bijan Robinson as well. I really like Jesse Bates on the back end in the secondary. I don't know if they got an improvement from Arthur to Raheem, though. What's your thoughts on Raheem Morris's first year? It didn't go as planned.
I think, obviously the report cards came out this week, and we're seeing Raheem's actually rated really, really highly in it. I like him personally as a person, as a human being. I think he's a great guy, and I think the one thing that he's got going for him is that he can talk up the locker room. You can see that he can G the team up, G the fans up. He talks a good talk. I think, again, I feel like with a bit of experience at head coach and with some decent assistants behind him, not just his mates, we're past that now. We need to be looking at the real standard of coaching, and not. I don't just mean the head coach. I mean all of the people behind him that are making these decisions and helping him make the decisions that he's making. We saw that with his clock management towards the end of the season. There was some absolute shockers there that realistically cost us games. But like I said, I do think that as a coach, he's got the locker room, and that's half the battle. We see it time and again where coaches are going head to head with the players. There's animosity between the coach and the fans. All of those things add up to destroying the chemistry of a team. Whereas with Raheem Morris, he's well liked by the players. He built really solid relationships from the off. I talk a lot about the fact that pre-season, him and Younghoe Koo already had their own secret handshake going, and they were kind of like bros on the field, if you like, and it makes a difference. And he comes across very well, I think. Do I think he's the best head coach in the league? Absolutely not. You know, we're not going that far. But I give him another season. I think give him another season. Let him. He's bedded in now. He's kind of had a lot of work to undo what was already done when he stepped in. Let's be honest. There was an ingrained culture there of, you know, certain players and certain power moves. And I think give him his chance. Let's see next season what he can do.
Okay, I like it. And what going into like the off season here, what does Atlanta need to do to kind of make, you know, that next step? Like I think Tampa Bay is still kind of runs that division. You know, as long as they got Baker Mayfield and Mike Evans and that team, you know, they did lose their offensive coordinator. You know, he became the head coach at Jacksonville. But what does Atlanta need to do to kind of catch up to Tampa Bay? And Carolina really finished the season strong. It looked like, you know, Bryce Young has made the next steps. I think the Saints are obviously in a disarray. Like they're, you know, now bringing in a new head coach and they're up against the cap. But what does Atlanta got to do to kind of – this is a winnable division still.
Yeah.
What do they got to do to make sure that they can win this division?
Well, I think, you know, there's a few things there that you've said that I would kind of not necessarily challenge, but I think Tampa Bay's team is aging. It's an aging team. You know, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, they're not young spring chickens anymore.
Yeah,
you know,
agreed. Yeah,
you've got to think that they're, you know, every season takes its toll on the players. You know, fair enough. We're you know, we do have those young weapons that we can bring out. We've got to get a pass rush. Like, let's be honest, our first draft pick has to be one of those decent edges. I mean, if we can get Jalen Walker, the edge from Georgia, we are laughing. But Mika Williams will do. Don't get me started on Mike Green, because that's the projection that everybody keeps making, and I'm like, if we take him, I'm going to have words. Raheem Morris will be.
Why not Mike Green? Why not Mike Green?
Just his personal criminal activity that, you know, go to the Browns, mate. The Browns take on all the sexual predators. Jump on over there with Deshaun Watson and Jameis Winston, and you will fit in just fine, Mike. But you're not coming over our way and spoiling our reputation. Thank you very much. But you know, there is, I think James Pierce Jr. is a really solid shout for us. You know, looking at that real deepening the defense, we don't have a choice. That is where you look at our offensive weapons that we've got right now, right? We've got Bijan, who arguably one of the top players.
Yeah, he's 5 or 6. Yeah, he's probably the top 5 or you know, top
10
5 running back. Yeah.
We've got Darnell Mooney, who with Michael Penix, we've already seen that chemistry starting to come through. You know, we've got Drake London, not played to his potential last season, I wouldn't say, not his best season, but did he learn from his mistakes? Hopefully. We've got a really young year one Casey Washington, who we drafted last season at wide receiver, who I think will get more game time this season. I think there's a bit more competition there for our wide receivers to actually show up and say, well, actually, if you're not going to play, we've got somebody sitting here waiting who showed in the preseason what he's capable of, showed last season that when needed, he could easily come on. You've got Kadarrell Hodge, who's sat on that bench for the most part, then comes on, instantly scores a touchdown, you know, like, and again, that was Penix. That, you know, the chemistry between Penix and those younger players is unbelievable. So in terms of our offense, you know, I would be reluctant to touch anything that's going on there right now. I think deepen the defense, really focus in on getting those edges. I mean, they're talking about getting rid of Grady Jarrett. Not talking about it, but it's up in the air. They've said
he's up there. He's up there in age. Yeah.
And they've said he's not untouchable. He didn't have the best season last season, of course. But realistically, you know, I mean, we've got Tyler Algier. He didn't have a great season last season. I would be getting rid of him personally. If it was me on that head coach, I'm brutal though. I would just be like, right, bye, see you later. You know, get out. I'll find somebody else. Like you say, Jesse Bates is solid, absolutely solid. But yeah, we need to. I mean, last season during the draft, during the combine, we only took TJ Yates to the combine. So our quarterback coach was the only coach that travelled to the combine last season, and we drafted a quarterback in round 1.
Yeah.
This season, the only coaches from Atlanta at the combine are the assistant defense coaches.
So you think it's defense in this draft at the top?
It's got to be. And you know, like you said, the Bucks, for example, Baker Mayfield is unbelievable. You know, even as a Falcons fan, I thoroughly enjoy watching that man play. You know, I find him fascinating to watch. We've got to think Bryce Young, like you said, the end of the season for him, suddenly remembered how to play football or learned how to play football. And we were seeing some real raw talent there that was coming through. The Saints are in purgatory. Like, let's be honest, the Saints are not making anything happen this season.
Agreed. I have a friend of mine who we have on the pod quite a bit on Mondays. He's a big Saints fan. He said just tear everything down. Like they should have fired the general manager. They should have fired everybody. And you know, it's kind of in this, like, the Saints think that there's something, but everybody's kind of up against it in the cap. They're up against it. You know, who knows what happens with Chris Olave? Like, you know, maybe he might have played his last game of football. Like, we don't know. He has. You know, so
and Taysom Hill's gone.
Yeah.
You know, Derek Carr, what are they going to do? You know, realistically.
Yeah. Derek Carr's coming. They said Carr's going to come back and he'll be their quarterback. So,
but that's insane. I mean, did they watch the same games that we were watching last season or what?
Yeah.
Because Derek Carr did nothing. He couldn't even stand up against. I mean, obviously, Will Levis, God love him. You know, bless Will Levis because nobody loves him. But you know, Derek Carr, I put on par with him. If I'm being realistic, you know, watching what he does and the decisions he makes. Sometimes I think, God, how long have you been playing football? You know, like I feel like I might give it a better go at quarterback than Derek Carr. You know.
Okay, I mean that's bold statement. I mean, Carr he gets a lot of flack, and I don't think he's the greatest, but I do think he's, like, you know, I don't know. He's obviously bottom 15 maybe, and that's tough to say, and that's not a place where you want to be at. You know, and sticking with the Atlanta, where will Michael Penix be? Like, that'll be the key, like his maturity. He is young, but he did play. One thing that he has for him is he played a lot of college ball. You know, whether it been in Indiana or Washington. I think it was smart on them to get him in last year once the season kind of got away from them and give him that, what did he play, like 4 or 5 games, you know, and give him that experience, because then that leads into this year. And hopefully now, knowing he's the guy this year going into the season, changes his outlook and hopefully, you know, not saying that he wasn't prepared to go in last year, but, you know, knowing that he's their guy today instead of the guy for the future, I think it's going to make a big difference for him.
Yeah, and I think that mindset of being QB1, it's different, and the players look at you differently as well. Let's be honest, the rest of the team are looking at him differently. Also, the fact that he's left-handed, I think that's really interesting, because our last left-handed QB that stands out, you know, look at where we were then.
Yeah, I mean, different type of player. Michael Vick is generational. I mean, it's funny you're talking about Mr. Green and his, you know, you don't want to ruin your reputation, but you did have Michael Vick, a guy who went to prison. You know, but he is, you know, Vic is now coaching in Virginia, but yeah, Vic is a very, very special player. I'm not saying Michael Penix can't be or is not, but there's only one, you know, if Mike Vick would have just studied and practiced his portion in Atlanta, he would have been a Hall of Fame in not get in trouble with the law, obviously. He probably would have been a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's a shame because there's so many players, and I'm quite an advocate for, like, the fact that I think if you have a criminal history and you are in these crimes, you should not be given the chance to be a top tier NFL athlete. You shouldn't be, whether you've served your time or not. If you've been convicted, especially in these like the more serious, I mean, you know, petty theft and things like that, you know, teenagers make mistakes. I'm a teacher through the day, you know, I get it. But when it's serious things like some of these guys are being accused of at the minute, take them off the team. Take them out of the
Well,
league.
yes, yeah, I kind of agree, like in some sense, but my pushback on is like everybody makes mistakes. Now it's like unless and you did the time and the talent is still there, like everybody deserves a second chance. Like Michael Vick got a second chance, and I thought rightfully so that he should be, and a lot of people are kind of on your side, like he doesn't deserve a chance. But if you earn your right and you're in to get back in, you get back in, and I say this, like winning cures all wounds. Like it, like I mean, and that's the case. Like in sports, it's like no matter what somebody did, if they go out and win a championship, their fan base, for the most part, winning will cure that.
But it won't cure their victims.
No, it won't. It won't. It won't cure that. And you're right about that.
They
And
get that rubbed in their face.
like if you look at Tyreek Hill, I believe when he was in college, assaulted a woman, and you know what I mean. And for the most part, has now been a model citizen since he's been in the NFL. But he was a young kid and learned his lesson and paid it for it.
Yeah.
And part of what reason his draft stock fell. You know what I mean. And then some of these guys, there's I remember a kid, Lawrence Phillips, way back in the day, out of the Rams drafted him number 1 overall. I think this was like early, like mid 90s. I can't remember, 95. He was a Heisman Trophy winner. He had gotten several trouble, and they still drafted him. They put him in with Dick Vermeil. And Dick Vermeil was like a very much like, Jesus loving person and things like that. And it still they thought they could fix him. Well, unfortunately, they couldn't. And then he's ended up in prison and out the league. And there's other stories like that as well. So like they just have to eventually want to make the change. Obviously, the most famous one is Anthony Hernandez, right? Like another prime example of those situations.
Of course, Brian Banks at the Falcons as well.
Yeah, Brian Banks. I believe he was found innocent though later on, right?
He was innocent. That's what I mean. Like, of course, it has to be, explicitly proven that you're guilty.
Yeah.
Of course it does.
But I mean, people deserve second chances, is what it was like.
100%. But I think for most people coming out of prison after committing those crimes, you're not getting that second. You're going to struggle to get a job. You're going to struggle to make any level of living for the rest of your life. But just because you've got a bit of talent.
Well, they got a lot of talent, but they've also worked. So, like, equate it to like real life. Okay, let's just hypothetically. Okay, so you've trained like 10 years of your life. Because really you start training in high school through college, right? So there's 8 to 10 years where you were training specifically for a job, and let's just say you become like you're trained and you're better than everybody else in your job, and then you commit a crime, right? And then you have to go away for a year or so. But so are we going to throw out all the fact that you trained 8 years for this specific job and are really good at it, better than a lot of other people? And then, you know what I mean? Everybody else in the world would be able to go back to their job. Everybody would know what they did, right? Or they would have to tell their boss, maybe if it says, have you ever committed a crime or done prison, they would have to mark a checkbox if they have to go through a background, but they're still qualified to do their job. Only in sports do we blast it out and say those, they're role models. But at the end of the day, they're just, they're professional.
I don't necessarily agree with that, because I'm educated I've got a master's degree in education, and if I went out tomorrow and committed a crime and went to prison and served my time, I would never be allowed to be a teacher again. And I'm 14 years of experience. I'm an excellent teacher, but I would never get a job again. So
it depended on, I guess, depending on what you did and what the crime was.
Any crime. And in this country, any crime.
Okay.
If you've got a crime
in America, it doesn't, like, if you, let's just say you got a DUI, you could still be a teacher, or even if you got, I don't really think you can become a teacher unless you like did something with like a child or something like that. You know what I mean? Or but in the United States, you're pretty much allowed to work right next. So I think it's a good point though, because it's different in your country than it is over here. So speaking of being in overseas in England, like, are you just like straight like no like football, like European football, and it's just all American sports now, or like?
I mean, I keep up with. So I was born and raised a tiny Scottish team called Heart of Midlothian FC.
Uh-huh.
So everybody, when they think of Scotland, they think Rangers and Celtic. That's the kind of most people will say. Even in England, most people will be like, "Oh, so do you support Rangers or Celtic?" And I'm like, neither. So I keep tabs on that little team, and I always make sure that I'm kind of roughly up to date with where they're at. In
Uh-huh.
terms of English football, I've always been a Chelsea fan, because a boy in my kindergarten supported Chelsea, so I obviously jumped on that bandwagon to try and get him to like me. And that's just been a kind of running joke in my life that, oh, I'm a Chelsea fan. Don't know a thing about it, but uh, but for me, it's I watch every game of NFL that I can, even if it's not the Falcons playing. I will try and catch every prime time game that I possibly can do. Basketball's a big one for me. I missed the Celtics game tonight, but I hear that we finally got out of that losing
Yeah,
streak
they
and we
beat
won a
that. They
game.
beat that. What? Why the Celtics? Why the Celtics? Because they won.
Again, so the same person who was
Bulls fan first.
yeah, I was a Bills fan first. That's true.
Oh, you're a Bills
But
fan.
the
Is that
same
your dad?
person.
Is that your dad?
No, it's my other half. So
Oh, okay.
he Falcons fan, and I didn't really know that much about basketball. But again, it was one of those like you need to start watching it if you like. NFL, when the off season starts for NFL, basketball is going to be on. You want to have a team you can follow, fill that void a little bit. And I was like, loosely, I was one of those British fans that just follows the Bulls because you can get really cool merch here for them.
Oh, okay.
And then I started to watch the basketball, and I started to invest some time. And I'm a huge Drew Holiday fan. I'm not gonna lie, like I just love the guy. I think he's hilarious.
Hell of a ball player. Yeah, love Drew.
Yeah. Jalen Brown and stuff like. So I drifted my way. I found my way to the Celtics.
Okay.
Now obviously they are one of these teams that they make the playoffs. They do well, to say the least. So during off season,
they're only the
they've only got
number
18.
one. I think they've tied the Lakers for the most the most championships in NBA history.
Something like that.
Yeah, they're just a team.
So it's good to have that to keep up with during the off season of NFL as well.
Yeah, they won. They did beat the Nuggets earlier today. So
yeah, I saw that. It was 110, 103, I believe.
Yeah.
Was the score. I was at my line dancing class. I missed the whole game. So I watch NBA, and then this season my TikTok followers have enforced a rule that I have to try and get into baseball and hockey. So you can, I don't know if you can see this, but I've got my Braves cap on.
Okay.
That was given to me by a friend of ours who is a Morgan Wallen tribute act in the UK.
Yeah, 98 Braves. Yeah, that's a song.
Yeah. So I'm going to stick with my Atlanta. I'm going to follow the Braves for this one. See how it goes. I have not yet announced my hockey team.
They're good. They're a good baseball team. So
I'm take your word for it.
I'm a diehard Cubs fan, but but the Braves are a team that we're always chasing. So their Braves are always right there. So you probably picked a good one there.
Well, that's a relief because I know nothing about baseball, so it's one of those. And yeah, I'm going to keep an eye on that. But for hockey, I've picked my team, but I haven't announced it to anybody yet. So I'm waiting on my props to arrive to make a little TikTok on that one.
Okay. Can you give us a clue?
I don't think that it's anything. I don't think anybody will expect the team that I've picked. I'll say that.
So I don't even know if Atlanta has a hockey team. I think they still do. Oh, they used to, I think. But out of that, I didn't know if maybe we're staying in Atlanta. Then why not? If you're a Falcons, Braves, why not just pick the Hawks?
Well, because I just didn't like them.
Fair enough.
I wish there was a better answer. But also, obviously, I think Boston for the players. Everybody's like, oh, Jason Tatum. I'm like, yeah, but Jaylen Brown and Drew Holiday and Porzingis even, like, I love watching them play. So I always kind of try and go on the teams that I have picked that I haven't been lost a bet on. I like to like have a bit of heart in it, that if I'm watching them, I'm enjoying watching the players that I'm watching.
Yeah.
So I'm hopefully baseball and hockey will be up there next season, and I'll be able to talk a bit more about, the game and hopefully expand a little bit into that world. But
Baseball is a tough sport. Like, I can't just like you were talking, like I'm the same way with football, right? I love watching the Packers play. It's my team. But I can only I can watch any NFL team. I think fantasy, obviously playing fantasy football helps with that. But I can only watch the Cubs play baseball unless it's like October, the postseason. Like, I can't just turn on like any fucking Sunday night game and be like, you know what? Let's watch the Blue Jays and the Giants on this Sunday night game. No, I don't have any, there's no real like stakes in it. And maybe it may be because it's like 162 games, so you're just like, this game don't really fucking matter that much.
Yeah.
So like where baseball, I always tell people, in baseball, if you have a passion for a team, you're gonna enjoy it. Maybe like baseball is also, it's a good time here. Cubs usually play at like Sunday at noon or so. Like, well, they have a lot of day games, so it's always good in the afternoon. I always just watch the first 3 innings, take a little nap, and then wake up for the last 3 innings. So that's always fun. So it's always a good, like, kind of slow, or if you're doing something, you can kind of put baseball in the background. As far as, that type of stuff. So if you're a numbers person, baseball is huge with numbers. So, so that's, I enjoy baseball, but it's kind of dying out though. It's really dying out. It's probably become, and really the NBA itself for me too. I used to be a big Bulls fan. I love the game of basketball. It's probably my favorite sport to play. But just to watch the NBA product itself is kind of died out for me. I still watch a lot of college. I don't really say I watch college ball. Now is the perfect time with March Madness getting ready to kick off.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think everybody's been talking about this March Madness and the college basketball, so I am going to check it out.
You got to check it out.
College basketball. I do loosely keep an eye on the Dogs. Obviously, Georgia Bulldogs are my college football team. I like to know a little bit if I can. I've got an excellent moderator over at the AAW network, Fletch. He is massive into college ball. So anything that I need to know about college ball, I'm like, Fletch, hit me up. Let me know what's going on. Because anything that there is to know about college football, he knows. You
gotta fill out the bracket. Like, that's the thing. That's the best thing to do is you gotta fill out a bracket, find a group and that'll pay $5, and then you're really invested into March Madness once you fill out the bracket, pay a little money. It's probably my last year on the podcast. I lost, so then it was whoever was the loser. We all had to throw in something. Well, I drank a sardine milkshake because I immediately threw it up. It's awful. It's on there's a short of it in my shorts spot here on my YouTube, but I immediately threw it up. It was awful. It was awful.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. But it was a nice little fun bet to do. So
yeah, no, I'm definitely going to check that out this season.
Yeah, so make a bracket, have some fun with it. I got a few more questions, and it's like off topic of sports here. One thing I love about you is your TikToks. Obviously, that's kind of it seems like that's your niche. You're on the talk a lot, but I love the videos with your dad. In watching your dad learn the football teams. How did that come about? And has he learned all 32 teams yet?
No, he is nowhere near. I have tried. So I'm by nature, I'm 14 years I've been a teacher, secondary school teacher. I teach teenagers every day of my life. that man to teach is like having 60 teenagers in a room who are all on different wavelengths. You know, every time I see him, he's forgotten what I told him last time. But you know, it's just a bit of fun. It started off as me just joking around with him, and then I was like, do you know what? I'm going to film this. And it went from there. And then he got really invested, and he was like, you know, let's film a video. Let's do this. What can we do this week? Unfortunately, so his job is crazy busy at certain times of year. So he over Christmas, his job goes nuts.
Okay.
And so we don't catch up as much as I'd like to. But yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, I enjoy him trying to figure out each team. It seems like he does know your team. I guess that's the most important thing, that he does know the Falcons, right?
We're getting there. I mean, I'm always in Falcons gear. I'm always wearing a Falcons jersey. I'm always, or a hoodie or a cap, or, you know, I'm always talking about them. He couldn't name one single Falcons player. If I asked him, he couldn't name a player from any team, I don't think.
Is he converting you? Are you trying to convert him to American football?
Yeah, so he's watched a few games with me, and the funniest thing is, when I started, I was at his house and I was like watching maybe my second or third ever game, and he was like, "I know what football is. I can help you. I know what this is."
Yeah.
And me naively was like, "Oh, well, dads know everything, so you know, okay." And I'm watching the game, and he's like, "Oh, 1st and 10, that's really bad. That's not a great situation to be in." And I was like, "Oh, really? Well, what are we going to do?" And he was like, "Yeah, it's just not great." And I was like, "Right, okay." And he was like, 3rd and 9, that's what we want. That's what we want. And I was like, okay, 3rd and 9, that's great. And then I messaged my mate, and I was like, "I'm watching this game and I'm really confused because my dad's saying all this." And he was like, "That's utter nonsense. That is absolute nonsense." And my dad was like, "It's not. I've been to America one time." I was like, brilliant. Brilliant.
That's awesome. Was he doing it just to mess with you?
No. He honestly, that was his understanding of the game. Just insane.
Did you grow up watching any sports or anything?
So soccer, you guys
Yeah.
call soccer, we would call it football, but football was a big thing in my family. Like I said, that tiny team based in Edinburgh, Heart of Midlothian, was our family thing on both sides of my family, my mum and my dad's side. And so I watched a lot of that. And that was it really. You know, it wasn't a massive, you know, it wasn't like everybody gathered round or went to the games, or, you know, we would watch if they were in a big cup or whatever, we would watch it, and that would be it really.
Okay. And I noticed you're a big country music fan. You play a lot of that on your TikTok. Like, how did you become like a country music fan?
Yeah, so I've always had, so my grandparents loved country music on both sides again. One grandparent, his favourite artist of all time is John Denver. And then the other was like a Shania Twain kind of vibe. So I've kind of grown up with that in the background. And then I met my now partner, and he is a country music star. So he performs all over the UK, and he is, you know, really getting his name out. He's coming across stateside next year.
What's his name? Is he on like Apple Music or anything?
At the minute, he doesn't. He's on Instagram as his biggest platform. It's Scott Slattery Music.
Scott Slattery, okay.
Slattery, yeah. So Scott_Slattery Music.
Okay, I'll take a listen. I'm a big. I listen to all kinds of music, and like country music is very. You know, I grew up on that as well. So like, I kind of, the older I get, the more I enjoy it. It's weird now too. So.
Well, he's currently, he does a lot of like covers of like traditional country and modern country, but he's also going to be releasing his first album in the next few months. Hopefully, we're hoping to get that out this year. So definitely one to watch. He's up and coming and doing some really, really good exciting things. So obviously with that in mind, I'm always around country music. We're line dancing, we're out singing, we're out at gigs, it's kind of a community in the UK as well. So there's a lot of people that we kind of know or work with, or he goes on tour with and things like that. So it's one of those where when you're around it all the time, it kind of just becomes part of who you are, I guess. And I love it. I love it all.
Favorite artist?
It's an old one, to be fair. I really like Garth Brooks' oldest stuff, the older stuff, But in terms of like modern, the standard like Luke Combs and all of that. But there's a young girl who she until last month was unsigned, but she's been over here on tour and stuff. She's called Alexandra Kay. She just did Jelly Rolls tour with him as his support.
Okay.
And she's insane. She's so good, and well worth listening to. So she's up there. She's one of the country gals that I love to listen to, that isn't just whining and Shania.
Yeah, I like Garth Brooks. I used to sing Friends in Low Places. Pretty much that's my number one karaoke song. The dance, the rodeo. I'm a big,
but is it the short version or the long version of Friends in Low Places?
Oh, the long version. Yeah.
Good.
So,
Yeah.
but enjoy Garth. Quite a bit, especially his older stuff. So, but yeah, I'll have to. I don't think I've ever heard of her either, but I'll have to listen to her. I've been listening to Red Stray Clays and
nice.
and those. Have you heard of them?
Yes. Yeah.
Whiskey Myers and
Whiskey Myers. Yeah.
So I like a lot of that type of stuff, and I just like to listen to whoever I can find, and kind of just feels good. So
yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey Meg, I appreciate you joining me. Go ahead and get those plugs in real quick before we get up out of here.
Yeah, so over on TikTok, it's Ballers_Meg. It's the same everywhere, to be fair. Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Watch this space. There is a podcast coming this year, very soon actually. We'll be releasing our first one, so we'll have to get you on over there as well.
Most definitely.
But yeah, and obviously, like I said, Scott_Slattery music as well is one to watch, up and coming. For music, if you're into your country vibe as well.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'm all kinds of music person, from all genres, all decades. So, Meg, this has been great. I appreciate you staying up there late for us. So we'll let you. What time is it over there?
Oh goodness, I actually don't even know what time it is. 10 to midnight. There we go.
Oh yeah, we'll let you get some sleep and start your Monday morning. So I appreciate you joining us. Thank you again. It's been wonderful, and best of luck to you, your podcast, the Falcons, and your better half there, and it's kicking off his country music career.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Hey, anytime. Thank you a lot. Hey, everybody. This has been another great episode of the Bodkins Show. Like, subscribe, share. We'll be back Wednesday for an episode of Head Kicks and Haymakers. We'll cover UFC 313, I believe. So Wednesday night, 8 o'clock Central, 9 Eastern. Please tune in for that. We'll be back. Other than that, it's been fun, folks. For the Ballers Meg, I'm Bodkins. It's been another great episode of the Bodkins Show. Like, subscribe, share. You all know what to do. We'll see you then.
Thanks so much for joining us, and until next time, let's talk sport, friends. Thanks for watching.